Hello everyone, I am back for episode 3, and I have many thoughts and many things to talk about and to go over. From the beginning of the episode to the end of it, I was just like on the edge of my seat. So be warned, this might be a longer one, and as I'm going through these episodes, I'm starting to notice that I think my commentaries and stuff are gonna get a bit longer, but that's okay. This episode starts off with David eating somewhere, and there's another older gentleman who's kind of sitting at the other end of the bar. So from the previews and everything that we saw before season 2 premiered, I initially thought that this was going to be David, who was introduced as part of the Talamasca and Queen of the Damned, and then his character goes a bit more in depth in Tale of the Body Thief. For those of you who don't know, the Talamasca is kind of like this secret society that tracks and keeps records of like the occult, the supernatural, stuff like that. But boy, was I ever fucking wrong, because this turned out to be Raglan James, the body thief from the Tale of the Body Thief. I definitely was not expecting him to be introduced yet, especially not now. So Raglan used to be a part of the Talamasca, but then was eventually kicked out because, he's the thief, and he was using his 5-finger discount a bit too much. In the Tale of the Body Thief, he actually performs a body swap with Lestat, which meant that Lestat got to be in a mortal body for a little bit, and Raglan got to, I guess, masquerade as a vampire. And as you can imagine, it did not go over well. Not at all. And since the Tale of the Body Thief is the 4th book in the Vampire Chronicles, I'm not sure how this is exactly going to fit into this timeline. And at the end of that book, Raglan does die, and I'm pretty sure it stays that way. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he stays dead. But a mutual of mine on Twitter proposed the idea that what if this is Raglan in David's body? It's possible. It's entirely possible, because at one point Raglan in the book does take over David's body. So you never know. I think it'd be really interesting if that is what happens, but it could really just be Raglan, and that's that. So it then does come back to the interview, and I do have a comment about Rashid. I've been seeing this a lot online about Rashid. Plenty of people are speculating that what if Rashid is part of the Talamasca and he's spying on Louis and Armand. I don't know how possible this could be, because then it raises the question, how did Rashid get past Louis and Armand undetected? You see, I'm not saying it's not possible. It very well could be, but I don't know about that one. While Armand is speaking to Daniel after he starts recording, if you do pay attention to his computer screen, Armand somehow makes his voice undetectable, which is really petty. I had no idea he even had the ability to do that, so that's kind of cool. I could also just feel the longing between Armand and Daniel. Oh god, I need Devil's Minion now. I need it now more than ever. And then the blenders comment, I burst out laughing, because in Queen of the Damned, Armand develops this fascination with technology, and the first thing that he becomes captivated by is a fucking blender. A blender of all things. I'll play the clip.
Your cell phones make you slaves to your fetishes, and data retrieval is primarily about profit, so I suspect no one at Amazon is trying to sell us blenders.
I'll read a small excerpt from Queen of the Damned where the blenders comment is mentioned. Technological inventions began to obsess Armand one after the other. First, it was kitchen blenders, in which he made frightful concoctions, mostly based on the colors of the ingredients, then microwave ovens, in which he cooked roaches and rats. Like, okay then. Moving forward, a big chunk of this episode is Armand recollecting the experiences that he had in Paris, especially with Lestat. One thing we do need to remember, that this is Armand's perspective of how he saw things with Lestat and Nicki, so on and so forth. I'm not saying that to invalidate his experience, but what we do know is that each character in the show is telling their experiences, how they remember them, how they see fit. If they're lying, that is up for debate. If they're misremembering things, that is also up for debate. It's just something to consider. Right off the bat, we do see Armand leading a coven who like to call themselves the Children of Darkness. They are not to be confused with the Children of Satan, because while that is another coven, it's not the one that Armand is leading right now. The beliefs of this coven surround a lot of religious themes about God and Satan, so on and so forth. And then we do see Armand going to the theater to stalk Lestat from the audience. And while he's in the audience of the theater, he looks like a pathetic, wet, like scrungly kitten, but also you can just see the obsession that Armand has for Lestat just in his eyes. And how many of Lestat's plays did he attend exactly? That's something that I would like to know. I also just need a moment to freak out about Harlequin Lestat, because the costuming, the drama, the theatrics, All of it. I get why Armand was obsessed, because bitch, if I saw that, I would be obsessed too. I am obsessed, I'll fully admit it. I have been waiting so long for this moment, and ever since the teaser photos dropped, I have been foaming at the mouth, waiting for this episode and these scenes. Sam Reed, the man that you are, the spirit of Lestat has possessed you once again. And all these vampires really just love saying, come to me. I'll play the clip where Armand says it too.
Viens à moi. Viens à moi.
Like first it was Lestat in season 1 with the song, and now Armand. I'm noticing the pattern here. Whether it's intentional or not, I'm noticing it. I think we should also be paying close attention to how Armand even admitted that he wanted to have Lestat under his control. Control is something that Armand is very good at. It's one of the things that he knows and can do very well, especially with leading the coven. And there's a reason for that. It brings him security, and it's one of the only things that can really make him feel safe. And with his history, maybe it's even one of the only ways that he can feel like he has autonomy over something, over himself, over other people. I am a little disappointed, actually no, I am a lot disappointed that we're not getting Lelio Lestat, which is one of the famous parts that Lestat played when he was in the theater. This was confirmed by Roland Jones in one of the interviews, I believe at the premiere of season 2 in New York. In Roland's words, he thought that Lelio was too boring. Boo! I know, it really sucks. But I guess everyone's entitled to their own opinions, even if they might be wrong. But we did get Harlequin Lestat, so I can't complain too much because I'm eating up that shit. I just wanted to see Lestat being the flamboyant theater kid that he is, and we got that, so. But since we're not getting Lelio in the show, I'll spare you of my ramblings about Lelio and how Lestat became to be Lelio and his obsession with acting and performing and yada yada yada. I am just progressively getting more excited as I'm going through my notes to film this video, because next we see Lestat in this carriage wearing a specific coat, and when I tell you I freaked the fuck out, because that is my Lestat. That's Lestat. Oh my fucking god. So let me explain the significance of this coat and why it's so important to me and many other people who have also read the books, specifically the Vampire Lestat. Once again, I know I said I was going to stick to the first book, but it's proving to be very difficult, but I'm trying my best. I know I keep saying this, but I freaked the fuck out when we got the teaser photos for this, because I was like, holy shit, that is Wolfkiller Lestat. That is Lestat. That is Lestat. And this cloak is exactly how I imagined it in the books. Like it feels like it just popped out of the pages. And I need to talk about this because if I don't, I will 100% spontaneously combust. As a mortal boy, Lestat lived on his father's land in Auvergne, France, and he kind of took on the role of being a hunter to put food on the table for his family. And when he was 21 years old, he killed an entire pack of wolves by himself for stealing and killing sheep in the village. This is what he took with him when he went to go kill these wolves. I had 3 flintlock guns and an excellent flintlock rifle, and these I took with me as well as my muskets and my father's sword. It was a very large mace, that is, a spiked club, that I took with me that morning, and also a good-sized flail. He also went out on this hunt with his 2 beloved mastiffs and his horse, which all, unfortunately, tragically died. Yeah, it sucked. Lestat nearly died in the process of managing to kill all these wolves, and he actually took the wolf that almost killed him back with him home. Without getting too deep into the details of the fight, this event was very traumatic to Lestat, and he goes on to describe it like this. But whatever I had learned or felt when I was fighting those wolves went on in my mind as I walked. Every time I stumbled and fell, something in me hardened, became worse. By the time I reached the castle gates, I think I was not Lestat. I was someone else altogether, staggering into the great hall with that wolf over my shoulders. So when the village found out that Lestat had killed all these wolves, they wanted to thank him and honor him in a way. But more specifically, merchants. He was given a red velvet cloak lined in the fur of the wolves that he had killed. And they also gifted him black fur-lined suede boots, once again with the fur from the wolf that he had killed. And of course, the person that gave him this was Lestat's first love, the violinist, Nicki de l'Enfant, and his father. And that is why I freaked the fuck out. When Lestat and Nicki are walking in the street, Lestat can feel Armand's presence. And he goes on to say this.
Quelqu'un me regarde. Tu es toujours au centre de l'attention. Il pense que je ne sais pas qu'elle est là.
This is also pulled right out of the Vampire Lestat, and this is how it's written. But in the month of October, when Paris was already freezing, I commenced to see, quite regularly, a strange face in the audience that invariably distracted me. Sometimes it almost made me forget what I was doing, this face, and then it would be gone as if I'd imagined it. I must have seen it off and on for a fortnight before I finally mentioned it to Nicki. I felt foolish and found it hard to put it into words. There's someone out there watching me, I said. Everyone's watching you, Nicki said. That's what you want. Oh my god. This also does piggyback off of seeing Armand in the theater audience watching Lestat from a bit earlier in the episode. Armand then makes his presence very known to Lestat and asserts his power and dominance over him. This totally befuddles Lestat. And he is not having it at all when Armand kidnaps Nicki. Compared to how this happens in the Vampire Lestat, it does differ quite a bit, but these differences between the show and the book could easily be chalked up to Armand remembering things incorrectly or leaving things out and just not telling them properly. Or he just doesn't remember, that's also an option. In that case, it would also explain why certain characters aren't present at the moment. For example, Gabrielle, Lestat's mother, who he does turn into a vampire. I'm hoping the reason that Gabrielle hasn't been introduced, or the reason why Armand's perspective is a bit different than what happens in the book, is because they are going to adapt the Vampire Lestat, and maybe that's why they're not announcing the renewal for season 3 or telling anybody what the episode 8 title is either, which is the finale. So here's a little breakdown I've jotted for you guys, just so you can have a little bit of context as to what I'm talking about. I'm basically just gonna try to speedrun this because there is a lot. So Lestat gets turned into a vampire by Magnus, and he inherits Magnus's wealth and his tower. Magnus kills himself. Lestat turns his mother Gabrielle into a vampire because she was dying of an illness. Lestat and Gabrielle have a run-in a few times with these other vampires that kind of act weird and won't shut the fuck up about blasphemy and God and stuff. We then learn that these strange vampires are part of Armand's coven, the Children of Darkness. They have a face-off with a group of these vampires at Lestat's lair. The vampires end up killing Lestat's stable boy, and on top of the stable boy, they find a coat, which we then learn later on was Nicki's coat. So Lestat and Gabrielle put 2 and 2 together. They find out that they have kidnapped Nicki. The Children of Darkness have Nicki, and they're keeping him under Les Innocents, and they're keeping him up in a cage above a pyre. And these are a few lines from the book when Lestat does go to retrieve Nicki. There were bluish marks on Nicki's throat. The lace of his shirt was filthy, as were their rags, and his breeches were snagged and torn. He was in fact covered with bruises and drained almost to the point of death. In the show, we do see these markings on Nicki. He is a little bit beat up. A little bit. He also isn't held over a pyre or anything in the show. He's just chained down to a concrete slab, is what it seems to look like, at least. Lestat mocking God to the Children of Darkness is just so priceless. Busting into their home with a giant crucifix on his shoulder like Big Dick is back in town or something. I'll play a couple clips because this scene just cracked me up real good. Moving on to some more book comparisons, this whole exchange that Lestat has with Armand and the rest of the coven is pretty similar to how it goes down in the book.
Amusant de vivre dans une telle saleté, elle est plus honteuse.
Nous devons servir Dieu au travers de Satan et au travers d'Armand.
Une trinité crottée.
Tu vas attirer la colère de Dieu sur nous avec tes péchés.
Qui sont?
Tu vis parmi les mortels. Tu marches dans le temple de Dia.
Il parle de l'homme triste avec le cloueux.
So, let's compare that to the text. Is it great fun living in filth and stench such as this? I asked. Is that why you do it? Fear. Envy again. How had we managed to escape their fate? Our leader is Satan, said the dark-eyed woman sharply. Cultured voice. She'd been something to reckon with when she was mortal. And we serve Satan as we are meant to. Why? I asked politely. Consternation all around. You will bring down the wrath of God on all of us with your defiance, said the boy, the smallest of them, who couldn't have been more than 16 when he was made. In vanity and wickedness, you disregard the dark ways. You live among mortals, and you walk in places of light. A bit later on, Lestat approaches Armand when he's alone in the crypt, and Armand says this.
Je pourrais parler jusqu'à la fin du monde, sans jamais te dire tout ce que tu as détruit ici.
Which is another direct quote from the Vampire Lestat. And then we got another LESMAND moment. We are so winning. They're drinking each other's blood. All is well. Not really, but you get what I'm putting down. Armand also does warn Lestat about turning Nicki, saying that he would be too fragile to endure this type of life. And unfortunately, he is absolutely correct as per what happens to Nicki in the Vampire Lestat. Moving forward again, we do see Lestat propose this idea for Armand to join him in the theater. And then a bunch of vampires in the audience turn to look at Armand, and we see that these vampires are some of his ex-coven members. In the Vampire Lestat, this does go down a little bit differently because Armand's ex-coven members go to Lestat basically seeking for some type of protection because Armand went crazy and started killing a bunch of them after the coven fell apart, I guess you could say. And then Armand and Lestat making out on the balcony right in front of Nicki.
Je s'observe.
Elle devrait regarder ses partitions.
Lestat, je t'aime.
Oui. Je t'aime aussi.
What is going on? And first of all, did that even happen? Because we know the relationship between Lestat and Armand is a bit strained, and this seems a little AO3 fanficky coming from Armand's little noggin. Don't get me wrong, I am thankful for this LESMAND scene, but I guess we will eventually find out if it is true or not. And then Louis interrupting, saying that Lestat and Armand went at it on the floor. I need to leave. A little bit later, Armand shows up to Louis and Claudia's apartment. And when I say I really do not like the way Armand speaks to her at all, it pisses me off. And the way he's such a dick to her, and it's veiled with humor, or the fact that, you know, he is her superior, is really shitty. It's like masking his true feelings for her. And the way they nicknamed her Flea in French, Puce. I'm gonna start beating people up, I swear to God. And then after Claudia leaves, Armand says this.
The coven has grand designs for her.
Oh, grand designs? You mean killing her? Is that what we're getting at here? Killing her? Anyways, Sam showing Claudia the ropes in the wet room like a tech crew theater kid is amazing.
On a Tuesday, this is the buddy box and that's the rat box. On Wednesdays, that's the buddy box. This is the rat box. Back and forth, back and forth. Keep track. These rats are smart. They can go quiet. You open up the wrong box, they go running up the stairs, into the green room, into the theater, and Mitra punishes the entire coven, which does not win your friends in Farron.
That Irish vampire takes his job very seriously. And the rat box is so silly, but I suppose it is an effective method of ridding of bodies, ridding of the evidence. I just want to hug Sam and keep him in my pocket. I love him so much. I want more Sam screen time. I'd watch a whole show of just Sam if I'm being honest. AMC, please don't take him away from us. I don't know what you have in store for his fate, but please don't take him away, please. But the burial vaults, oof. Sam mentioned it's where they keep the lawbreakers, the heretics, and the past coven members. Ooh. It's an interesting change up from the books instead of breaking them in or keeping them in some deep chamber under Les Innocents like Armand used to do. Armand and Louis then go on a walk. They talk a bit more about photography and Bruce. Armand is trying to convince him to join the coven again. Louis is sucking at blocking his thoughts. What's new? And then we get Hallustat appearing again. Lovely, we love to see it. I just wanted to add, if Louis looked at me like this, I would melt into a puddle immediately. It cuts back to the interview. We see Daniel's computer getting hacked by Raglan with the Talamasca files. And then it goes back to the theater and Claudia and Santiago are having a discussion, which would be really sweet. And the relationship they're developing would also be really sweet if we weren't in the circumstances that we were in. It's nice if you forget that it's Santiago. Moving on, we then see Louis and Armand in this bar kind of thing, bistro, I don't know what you call it, a place with live music. Louis says this.
I'm evil. Evil as any vampire who ever lived. I've killed over and over, and I will do it again.
Why does that make you as evil as any vampire? Aren't there gradations to evil? Is evil a great perilous gulf one falls into with the first sin?
I mean, kinda. It's not as logical as you're saying, but it's dark, and it's empty, and I can't see the bottom of it.
But if evil is without gradation, and it does exist, this state of evil, then only one sin is needed. That's your argument.
And this dialogue is directly pulled from the first book as well. The setting does differ a little bit because it does happen when Armand and Louis are in the little coven lair. And these are the excerpts from the book that they're referencing. I'm evil. Evil as any vampire who ever lived. I've killed over and over and will do it again. And then Armand goes, why does that make you as evil as any vampire? Aren't there gradations of evil? Is evil a great perilous gulf into which one falls with the first sin, plummeting to the depth? And then Louis replies, yes, I think it is, I said to him. It's not logical, as you would make it sound, but it's that dark, that empty, and it is without consolation. And then Jean-Paul is here. Like, what is going on? I didn't expect to see him pop up, that's for sure. Then the topic of God is brought up.
Your argument assumes God exists.
I don't know that God exists. From what I saw in the war, he doesn't.
Then surely there are degrees and variations to goodness. The goodness of the child, which is innocence. The goodness of the nun, who lives a life of self-deprivation and service. The goodness of the saints. The goodness of the midwives. And how is this evil achieved?
Now compared to the book. But if evil is without gradation, and it does exist, this state of evil, then only one sin is needed. Isn't that what you are saying? That God exists? And another excerpt. Surely you attribute great degrees and variations to goodness. There is the goodness of the child, which is innocence. And then there is the goodness of the monk, who has given up everything to others and lives a life of self-deprivation and service. The goodness of saints, the goodness of good housewives. Are these all the same? And then another one. And how is this evil achieved, he asked. How does one fall from grace and become in one instant as evil as the snob tribunal from the Revolution, or the most cruel of the Roman emperors? And then Hallustat busts in with "Come to me, you little whore."
Little whore.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm on my way. Like, say less. I'll start sprinting. I don't care. I'm on my fucking way. And Louis going on about how he was with Bruce for 30 years and then Armand calling him on his bullshit. That whole scene had me on the edge of my seat. Like, Armand knowing for months what had happened? Oh boy. I'll stick the clip here.
Lestat. Oh dear.
Finally.
I'm tired of holding on to it. I killed him, and he fucking had it come.
Well, that's debatable.
I've known for months. I've just waited for you to see it.
And Louis freaking out on Hallustat and then leaving and then going and doing things with Hallustat. I need to insert the Hallustat makeup clip here because we need to relive that moment together.
Even now, I'm still the only one you trust. Kill me again. Come on. Kill me again. Show me. The only way you know how to love.
Lestat on his tippy toes, kissing Louis, the kill me again, that is peak fucking romance, baby. It is toxic, it's horrible, but it is peak romance and I am living for it. And then Louis goes to develop the photo that he took of Armand by accident earlier and Lestat faintly showing up. What the fuck? On a heavier note, and I will put a trigger warning here for sexual violence, Claudia then goes more in depth about the things Bruce did to her and the sexual assault that she experienced. This is a very sensitive topic, and I'm not really sure 100% how I feel about that choice of it being added in. Claudia's storyline was already tragic enough as it is. Poor girl's already suffering enough already. And don't get me wrong, I know these themes aren't something new when it comes to the gothic genre of film or literature, but oftentimes it's somehow used in a way to make a character stronger, which I don't necessarily agree with at all. And I think that is all I will say on the matter for now. Louis and Armand having a Francis Bacon piece in their apartment is no surprise to me at all. If you know anything about Bacon's life and his art, it kind of makes sense that they are drawn to his work. While all that stuff is happening, we do see Daniel poking around again in the Talamasca files. And if you look closely enough, it contains profiles on people in the coven, on the theater, amongst many other things too. There's some things on Marius, there's some things on Armand. You also see Amadeo, which was Armand's name from before. And then Daniel opens up an image that seems to be a snippet out of the newspaper from when the theater was burned down. Ooh. Despite Louis being mid-crisis, he still goes to show Claudia's support for her initiation ceremony to the coven. We also see Santiago using his telepathy to communicate with Armand, basically threatening him about Louis. And we really see in this moment that Santiago is kind of pushing to be in charge and that the coven will back him up on that. Armand says he'll deal with Louis after Claudia has fully committed herself and been initiated into the coven. Oh, this is like, oh, just talking about it, even though I watched it, is making me nervous. And Armand, oh so conveniently, whisks Louis away while Claudia is about to be initiated by Santiago and the rest of the coven. While Claudia is getting initiated to the coven, it is a big oh shit moment. And we know from there on out there will be some big trouble. Because as Santiago is reading off the great laws, we already know that 2 of them have been broken. More specifically, Law 2 and Law 4. The whole initiation seems very cathartic for Claudia, and it really seems like she thought that she's gotten away with breaking these 2 laws. But as this is all happening, we also see Louis and Armand kind of get into it. And Louis is being made aware of these laws that have been broken by Armand. And Armand is telling Louis that there will be consequences for breaking these laws. And it really seems like Louis just has accepted it, and he's accepting death in a way for so as long that nothing bad happens to Claudia, which we all know is kind of inevitable at this point. And it doesn't help that Armand says that she won't be around for too long anyways. Like, what do you mean by that? Elaborate, Armand. I also just thought that this parallel was interesting. I'll put it here. Someone on Twitter had brought it up, and oh, I don't like it. I don't like it. It cuts back to Claudia, and then we learn that Claudia is now getting her own play. And as she is pulling this dress out of this box, the play is being explained to her, and we can see it. It's written all over her face. She knows that she has fucked up. She's fucked up really bad. And while Armand is still with Louis, he goes on and he says this.
What did he call it? The Savage Garden.
Which is so cool because the Savage Garden is something that usually Lestat uses. He refers to the world as a Savage Garden. It's his kind of personal outlook on the entire world. And when that manhole opened up and revealed that ray of light, I got nervous as hell because all I could think about was the 90s film. Just remembering Claudia's death scene from that. Oh, I didn't like it. I did not like it. I don't think they did that on purpose. They both climb through the manhole, and Louis realizes that Armand has just led him back to his apartment. They have a little heart-to-heart about Lestat, and then they kiss, and Louis invites him in to the apartment, which is kind of funny because, you know, in order for a vampire to come into your house, they have to be invited in first, so I thought that was a little funny. The whole thing is just funny because Santiago's under the impression that Armand is gonna do away with Louis, but instead he's just doing Louis. Like, they went up to the apartment and they're fucking 100%. Like, there's no doubt about it. They are having sex. And the episode pretty much does end there, which I hated a lot. I'm so nervous for the rest of the season after this. Like, genuinely, so much happening, and at the same time there's so much we're waiting to happen, and the anticipation of it all is just fucking killing me. I hope this video isn't too long, but if it is, I'm sorry, and if you made it this far into the video, thank you. I will see you guys for episode 4 very soon. Peace out for now.